All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Flopbuster Movie Show live with Tony and Gabe. This week we're joined by a special guest, Leo Perez of the Broken Reality podcast, otherwise known as my uncle, who has joined us to talk about a number of things regarding TMNT. Leo, thank you for coming on.
Hey, man. Glad to be here. Glad to see you, both of you fine gentlemen. How are you?
Good.
Gabe, I know you're ready to talk some turtles. You've watched some fun things this week. You've caught up on the movies and the concerts, so I think you're ready.
Yeah. I mean, the movies I've watched since I was a kid. I think when the first movie came out, I was 7 years old. So that was like I was like their prime marketing, like their prime target audience. 7 years old.
Yeah, well, that movie came out in 1990, right?
Yeah, the first one came out in 1990.
I was like 9 when that came out, man. Jeez.
Yeah, so like we were in their like prime, marketing period.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Leo,
Yo.
when the toy line came out, how old were you when the toy line came out? What started it for you?
Dude, so like I just watched a documentary on Hulu about the TMNT. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's a really good documentary on like how it just came to be, from toy line to movies and all that shit.
Right.
I remember this vividly because I think I was at a prime age to remember all this shit. I remember TMNT being an hour-long special on TV, and it was just like the first 2 episodes were like a movie, right? They made it into like this little cartoon movie, and I remember like just being like, whoa, this is fucking dope, right? And then like then you like go to the Toys R Us, you start seeing the fucking toys there, but I was thinking specifically like that all like once that happened, like you're all in, right? I remember watching Nickelodeon on a Sunday morning and seeing the first trailer for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and that was like, I think that's what started my like, because I love movie trailers. Like if a trailer is well made, that'll buy me. Like you can buy me to see any movie that has a really good trailer to it. When I first saw that trailer, I was like, holy shit, everything's getting real. Like dude, that movie was just. I mean, that trailer was just like so fucking cool to me. Especially like in the trailer, they show when Donatello's head gets put in the fish tank, and then he spits the water out at the foot soldier. Like I was like, holy shit, they did it! They fucking did it!
I mean, Gabe, you were around the same age, so like this is a big deal for you guys because you were there in that moment when it happened.
I was there at the moment. I think for me it was I first noticed a cartoon, and then when my dad would go rent videos at like the corner store, like whatever. It wasn't Blockbuster yet. It was whatever. They used to have like these 45-minute kids sections for like Ninja Turtles. So like if you didn't have cable, you could just go rent a VCR tape, a VHS tape of Turtles, and it was like a mini 45-minute Turtle movies.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah.
And I think that line was like FHL or like it was some weird like kids producing VHS
FHE, yeah.
FHE. So they would produce a lot of these turtle stuff. So I would get those. I mean, they got me with the bright ass boxes, some turtles doing some karate. I'm like, I'm all in. And then when we finally got cable and I was able to watch the Turtles, the half hour, 22-minute, whatever cartoon show, that like immediately hooked me in. So when I found out that there was a movie going to be made, like I said, I was 7, I begged my parents to take me to this movie. Like begged. And I remember my dad coming out of this movie and telling me I could never pick out a movie ever again.
Oh no.
This movie was a big deal. I was in there because I'm the youngest one. So my discovery of it is VHS. It's VHS, specifically Leo's VHS, his hand-me-down VHS tape.
Yeah. I had the original with.
Listen, I don't need to know about your guys' hand-me-down VHS tapes.
Dude, wait, check this out. So, Gabe, I don't know why you had to wait until cable, because TMNT was on channel 50 on broadcast TV. Those are the free channels. So maybe your parents lied to you and were like, "Oh, it's only on cable," and then yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, because I remember they were specifically on channel 50, and then a couple of years later they put them on. It was on Saturday morning cartoons. But
I think I was watching them as Saturday morning cartoons, but they're like that Saturday morning cartoon block, and like, but I don't know why. I think I remember cable.
Dude, I have a sad story about the Turtles movie. So I went to go see it opening night. Like, I went to go see it opening night, and there was a long ass line. And this is back in Ford City Theater, back over in Burbank, in like South suburb of Chicago, right? Like, everybody went to Ford City when I was a kid to see movies. And I remember we got there, and I went with my old man, and it was just me and my old man go see it. And I was really hyped, and we bought some of the last tickets. And I remember this dad came with his two sons, and they're like, "Sorry, it's sold out." Like, back then, like, they were just there. I think it was maybe like 6 theaters in there. It got sold out, and I remember the kids just put their heads down, and I was like, "Sucks to be you, motherfuckers! I'm gonna see Turtles." Those kids were devastated.
And I don't think the hype around it has matched probably since then and the second movie, which definitely feeds off that hype of the first one, the cartoon series, the toys, and the video game line, which you guys probably, again, played within the moment. For me, it was all that had died. I mean, the Turtles I saw on TV were reruns in the morning of the Saban TV series, the live action one that's like really bad, which we'll talk about. The Next Mutation, they would show that in the mornings. The reruns of the original show, which I've seen a few episodes of, and then they had the 2003 Kids WB adaptation, which was very similar to the comic book. It was more in line with that. But the movie was a big deal for its time. It was made for a small budget, and I have a clip. I'm going to play a clip really quickly because I think people really appreciate what I got here. Let me see if I could get this going. Actually, damn. Never mind. I can't play the clip. I think they blocked me from sending it.
What clip was it going to be?
It was a special clip for the movie specifically.
Oh.
Hold on. I'm going to find the clip, but let's talk about the movie.
Yeah, me and Leo could talk about the movie while you finagle that technology over there.
That first movie was like, I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's so dark," but I remember back then, this is like 1990, and I remember, like, I don't know about you, Gabe, but like when I was a kid, I watched all the movies that like my parents should never let me watch, like Commando, Predator, fucking like
Nightmare on Elm Street,
RoboCop. Like,
RoboCop was my favorite. Like, kids are like, RoboCop's your favorite? I'm like 7 years old. I'm like, yeah, I loved RoboCop.
Yeah, right. And like, so back then they weren't dark. That was just what we were like just toughened up to, right? Like,
right.
Like, I remember, and RoboCop has some pretty dark elements on you. Look back, you're like, oh man, like he just shot a guy in the dick who's trying to rape a lady.
Right.
But like back then when we were kids, we're like, that's nice, you know? So TMNT wasn't really dark for us, but now looking back, I guess it kind of is.
It was, looking back at it, rewatching it, it was a little bit dark. It did have a little bit of a beginnings of a rape scene with April.
Yeah.
You know, so
you get the kids smoking cigarettes, Marlboro or menthol or regular menthol.
So, but I don't know. I just look upon it, and I guess I look at it with like nostalgic eyes because when I rewatched it, I like fell in love with the entire franchise again, especially the early part of it. It was
I don't want to cut you off, but you speaking of nostalgia, I just want to play a clip for everybody that the movie you're nostalgic over.
Taste our turtle wax.
Show you the secret of the ooze.
The secret of the splooge.
Coming out of our shells.
That was one of the best kids movies, I would say.
God damn it.
I had to download that whole movie to get just that little clip to edit it. I felt so weird.
Sure, you had to download the whole movie.
I'm sure you had to download it. It was already on your computer. He already had it. Yeah,
I already deleted it.
He had it. You're right. He had it loaded already.
Yeah,
I had to edit around that.
Yeah. Whatever weird shit you're into, don't drag us into it, man.
Yeah, I don't know, Gabe. You seem pretty intrigued by it. You seem pretty intrigued by this.
Send me the link later.
I had to show that. I had to because the suits in that are as bad as some of these adaptations.
Actually, those suits are better than the Turtles rock concert. So
yeah. Is there a part where they're all like, well, all four of them are just surrounding April and be like, "This is the best pizza party ever, April"? They're just
No, they're going around and be like, April, do you want to see my turtle head?
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, it literally ends with four of them surrounding April, and then like she just got done baking Casey Jones, and there's turtle splooge all over her, and it's nasty.
Is it green? Is it green?
It's green. It's green. But they're prosthetic. They're like really fake. They look like wooden. So Gabe, I'll send that to you later.
This is the end times. We are living in the end times. Fuck.
It's not good. It's not good. Okay, so the movie was a big deal in 1990. Music video director Steve Barron directed this. He did like Billie Jean and a couple of other things for
I didn't know
Talking
that.
Heads as well. Yeah, so he was big into this. Golden Harvest specialized in Japanese films, and they really didn't want to make this movie. They were able to make it under budget. They figured they'll capitalize off the TV show. And
actually, they were from what. Well, the funny thing is, it's like the highest grossing independent movie of all time.
Sure,
it is. Yeah.
For that time period until Blair Witch Project came out like 8 years later, but for it was funny because nobody really wanted to do it besides Golden Harvest. There was like the day of production, they were about to shut down, and they just threw a Hail Mary up to a New Line. And New Line was like, all right, cool, we'll finance the rest of the movie. And then that's how New Line got involved with this. But it was
go ahead, kid.
Well, it was just funny how, you know, this movie, for as how popular the Turtles were with the cartoon show, with the comics, you know, from the mid 80s, that no major studio wanted to do it because Howard the Duck had bombed a little bit earlier. You know, cartoon movies or comic book movies weren't really doing that well. So no major studio wanted to do it. So they had to go independent for it.
Well, yeah, and I know that you guys have brought up the Fantastic Four movie, and at least I've seen you guys like talking about it, and like that's like they're going by, like you said, Howard the Duck and Fantastic Four just being so bad. I mean, it wasn't even supposed to come out, but like I can't remember, dude. I think the first of the really big successful comic book movies had to be Blade. And then that's when they just went full on with like just seeing what they can make. But I think Blade was the one after like all the cheesy Batman ones where they really were like, okay, let's give this a shot again. But TMNT did like I just, man, the visuals in that, I know they had a low budget to work with, but I'm glad they went with Henson Studios to work with the animatronics, the puppeteering on the Turtles. Because I mean, those guys are geniuses, but also like, I felt like that movie dug really deep into like a lot of the story, like especially with Raphael, you know, him and Leonardo's like relationship, and like Splinter. Sometimes you even forget that he's like a rat, you know, especially when he's talking to that kid Danny, like about like, oh, you know, like you know, all fathers care for their sons and all that shit. You're just like, holy shit, like. Whoever wrote that script really was like, okay, we're not going to have the money, so let's try to get deep with these characters. And sometimes you even forget that those characters aren't even puppets or people in costumes. Or sometimes like, oh, they're people.
Right. For the most part, they're very well fleshed out as far as their character work is. Like you said, Raphael's and Leonardo's, you know, they always clashed. Ever since I know them, they've always clashed. Raphael wants to be a leader, but Leo is the leader himself. And, you know, Splinter caring for him like they're his own actual biological children has always been part of their factor into all of it.
Who's your all's favorite Turtles?
I think it's always been a Raph for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's all, yeah, for sure.
That's interesting.
Just because of the Casey Jones team up all the time was always the thing that like got me pumped. Mm-hmm. What's yours?
Go for it. You first.
I'm gonna go with my favorite's always been Leonardo.
Mine too.
It's always been. There's something about the blue mask, the swords. I always thought the swords were like the coolest weapons of all of four of them. And then just the way he carried himself as a leader, as somebody that somebody you looked up to. Me growing up, I wasn't a hothead like Raphael.
Yeah.
I wasn't smart like Donatello, and I wasn't like, you know, how Michelangelo is. I'm more Michelangelo now than I was as a kid.
Sure.
But growing up, I was like very like straight and narrow, like very, disciplined in a sense, like Leonardo was. So
Yeah.
that's why I always gravitated towards him.
That's interesting. I feel like I always liked Leonardo. Well, first because my name's Leo, but also like I loved him because he was everything I wanted to be. Right? Like you want to be like straight lace and do the right thing and be a leader amongst your friends and shit like that.
Right.
And always try to be that, or at least I wanted to be that. So like that always like that's what I always kind of aspired to when I thought of Leonardo. I hated Michelangelo when I was a kid. I fucking hated him because he didn't take anything seriously. He didn't take anything seriously.
See, I hated Donatello because that bow staff I thought was just super, super. I was gonna say, a different word, but it was lame. I thought the bow staff was lame, and then for some reason I thought being smart was lame. So I was like, I don't Donatello. He's lame. He's the lamest one. And then the color purple. When you're a boy back then, in the late '80s, early '90s, the color purple. Oh no, that's a girl color. No, I don't want no purple.
Right. Yeah. No, for me, I don't know. It was Michelangelo, man. He never took anything seriously. Like Raphael, he was like the hothead. Donatello's smart dude. Leonardo the leader, and Michelangelo like, oh, let's fucking eat pizza and fucking lay around doing jack shit. And I'm just like, come on, man, we got fucking ninjas to kill.
Just fucking not tipping the delivery driver every single time they order a pizza.
He's such a fucking
Domino's was late. You 30 minutes back then.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to mention was we talk about the things that work for it, like the Jim Henson Creature Shop, which was big. Jim Henson really didn't want to do the movie.
No, he did it.
He didn't. He was convinced to by the director. He really put a lot of trust in him, and that's something that this production had going for it, was that lower budget of $14 million works in its favor. The movie's really dark in how it's shot, but there's a grunginess, a grittiness to it. It just feels dirty. It feels like a dirty movie, and it borderlines that PG-13 rating at that time. I mean, the turtles are cussing. There's kids smoking and drinking. There's actual violence that's happening. The last battle with the Shredder is pretty dark, and even Casey Jones, who
he's intense.
He's intense, and they got real character actors who took the material seriously. From Judith Hoag to Elias Koteas as a Casey Jones, who is perfect in the role. And anybody could have played this like, oh, this is a kid's movie, I'll play it for laughs. And everybody's just totally playing it straight, which is the best thing that works in its favor.
Right.
And that's the big difference between the first one, which captured so many, I think, such a big audience, and then the second and third films, which kind of, because I know they wanted to do away with the violence. That's when the parents' code started stepping in. And I remember that time, dude. It was I think, me personally, that's when a lot of kids in my generation started growing up, because we're like, well, wait a second, things aren't as cool as they were. What do you mean the turtles are just beating people up with yo-yos and pretending to be balloon animals, and this is fucking dumb. And then because you get all these movies, like we were just talking about RoboCop and all those, you get all these movies where they're not insulting your intelligence, and then bam, the turtles are a fucking joke. So then you're just like, well, I don't want to watch any of this shit anymore. I'm gonna graduate to whatever's next. Right? Like PG-13 rated R movies.
Well, when we also got that the whole, besides the movies, right? They all got into music as well. Remember, they started censoring rap music. They started putting that warning label that you couldn't own this, or not that you couldn't own it, but the parental advisory sticker on on a lot of things. And they were trying to get into. They got into the movies. They got into music. Pulp culture at that point in time was reaching a boiling point. Between parents and music studios and movie studios, what you can market towards kids, what you can't market towards kids, and the turtles were a part of it. Especially the second movie, they're the ones that got hit the most, and it suffered. You could tell it suffered because, like you said, you got Donatello posing as a blow up puppet. They're not using the sword, the bow staff, the size, the nunchucks. I mean, he used sausage as a nunchuck for the beginning scene of the second one.
Yep.
It's crazy about the second movie, and we'll jump into the second movie. And there's something I want to bring up because in the second film, even the creature shop, the way they've done the turtles, they're remodeled. They look brighter. Their eyes are bigger. They look a little strange. Corey Feldman doesn't come back to voice Donatello. He had like a DUI or something, so he couldn't do the movie.
We have a different April. She got recast because the first one protested about the treatment of the Turtles actors or whatever they were.
Right. Yeah. She protested that people were getting hurt on the set. She wanted less work days. They were working 6 days a week. It was a small budget, long hours. And on the second film, they saw that money coming in and they said, if we don't make a sequel now, we're not going to make as much as we thought we were. So we have like an 8-month turnaround. The movie came out like under a year. Like it came out way before the anniversary of the first one would have. Yeah. So they recast her character. And the second one is, I mean, it's got Vanilla Ice and Tokar Razor and a bunch of other things. And it's oddly in line with the first movie, but it's also incredibly silly and toned down, and it takes away everything that was really fucking cool about the first one too. No Casey Jones. It goes back to what Leo said about a lot of Christian rights groups too. Gabe just sent me an article, which was interesting, from 1991 about parents protesting this. And another film that suffered from this was Batman Returns. Batman Returns, parents lost their shit over it.
And RoboCop 3, speaking of RoboCop.
And RoboCop 3 was another victim of this, where they had to go PG-13, Batman Forever. A lot of this stuff happens with the whole McDonald's tie-ins, and they're like, well, we don't want our kids having toys to buy material, which this movie is definitely a victim of it. And I know it's got its fans, and people have fond memories of it. But I'm interested in what you guys think of it now, as an adult.
I mean, again, I saw this movie opening day when I was a kid. And I remember when I saw it as a kid, I was, even then I was disappointed because I'm like, oh, like I wanted Bebop and Rocksteady to be in it, which I later found out that was the whole issue, licensing issue.
Right.
And then I was like, oh, I'm like, is that doctor supposed to be Baxter Stockman? And it's straight away at that moment. I think we had more Ninja Turtles mythology and lore that it wasn't matching up to what the movies were making. So I'm like, oh, the movies are fucking lame. Like the second movie's lame. Like where it's at is the cartoons. And even the cartoons started straying towards not being as violent. And so now when I watch it, look back and watch it, like I watched it the other day and I'm just like, oh, this is just like a cartoon. It's just like a cartoon movie. It's literally a cartoon representation, watered down representation of even the cartoons. Yeah.
I thought it was like that movie would have been perfect if they would have left the violence in it, because it, like you said earlier, Tony, it has that dark element and it could run concurrent with the first one. But if you left those darker elements of the first one in it, it would have been like the perfect Turtles movie, because you had the whole entire Shredder's coming back. You had the Secret of the Ooze. You had them making 2 new evil characters, and it just needed it just needed that darker element. Vanilla Ice, obviously, when I saw it, I think my favorite part of the entire thing was the Vanilla Ice concert. I don't know why I loved Vanilla Ice as a kid. May still do. He's pretty funny.
A lot of us did. But even when they had him for that movie, he was already on the downturn. Like he was going down.
That was after Ice Baby had come on, so he's doing the Go Ninja Go. But that was to me, like as a kid, one of my favorite fight sequences, because they're fighting and then they break into like the club, which reminds me, like if you're in the club, like you wouldn't be able to hear people fighting outside, or somebody's going to be outside. All of a sudden you like break through a wall and there's like a whole freaking rave going on. But
you're saying that if they were fighting outside, they wouldn't have heard the acoustics inside?
Oh yeah.
I don't know. They were like in a waterfront property. Like it looked like it was like like you've been to a rave. Like you can't hear anything that's happening outside of the rave. So at least that checks out.
Yeah. All right. But
I never thought too much into it.
Yeah, and again, if you're in a rave and you see like 4 dudes dressed as a turtle beating the shit out of some like 2 dudes, they're dressed like something else. You're just like, I've had too much Molly.
No, but the second one, It holds up though, and in a good way still. It's just not as good as the first one, uh, but it's up there still.
It's weird because I don't have an attachment. Like I said, I was in there in that moment. So I love the first movie. I think the first movie, even watching it the other day, still stands on its own. And as a kid, it was like the coolest movie in the world. And as an adult, I'm like, this is a solid comic book adaptation. Like, it takes elements specifically from the first two issues of the comic, blends into humor of the cartoon, into like a perfect marriage of, if you love these characters, it works. The second one is just straight up for children. I'm not going to say it was a chore to get through, but I remember enjoying it as a kid and watching it yesterday. I don't know. I feel like the charm for the first one isn't there.
Yeah. So
that's really it. Yeah.
Really quick, when you brought up comic book adaptation, I remember after the first movie came out, I was in my school library, and I'm just looking through shit, and I actually, for some reason, our school had the trade of the first like 2 issues of the actual Ninja Turtle black and white comic. And I remember reading it, and it's pretty close to the first movie.
Right.
And I remember reading it, and I'm just like, why is this here? Like, this is violent as hell. Like, it was like, it's like rough, dude. It was like, it was like really brutal.
They in the first issue specifically, the Turtles request Shredder to commit suicide.
Yeah, yep.
For honor. And they're like chopping up limbs and stuff. By issue 2 and so on, it becomes the Turtles that you recognize, except they just have the same color bandanas. But that first issue is rough, and I'm shocked that it gets issued all the time and marketed. I think children at some point have come across the issue and wondered why the fuck is it so violent.
What you guys haven't mentioned yet, and I forgot to mention, is that this movie was supposed to come out before the TV show. Yeah. So the TV show came out in 1988. This movie came out in 1990, 2 years after the cartoon show, but it was supposed to come out back in like 86 or 87. So they had this movie lined up for it. So that's why the first one, goes off like the comic book source, because that's what they had. That's why it is darker. That's why it is all this other stuff. Then you have the cartoon show come out first, and then all these parents are taking their kids to the first movie. They're like, wait a minute, this isn't like the cartoon at all. This is like way too violent. And then that's why you have the second one, because they sort of had to like, redo it for kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's part 2. We have the Secret of the Ooze. There's a.
You don't have a clip of the Secret of the Ooze?
No, not for the show. I honestly did, but there's no way for me to. I tried to zoom in a way where I could get away with it, but I cannot post the clip. If you want to see the Secret of the Ooze, just I guess look it up on Google search or whatever. Okay, so the second one is mediocre for its time. It wasn't a huge hit. It made its money back. 78 million compared to the first one. Not as successful, but it was enough. A lot of people saw it as like the point of diminishing returns. And then we get into part 3. But before we get into part 3, I want to shoot this over to Gabe, because I made Gabe watch something, and this is from 1990. Which I didn't know. I assumed this would have came out in 93, 94. This came out in 1990.
Look at that fucking nightmare. What a nightmare that shit is. God damn.
So I first saw this on VHS at somebody who was babysitting me. I didn't even know it existed. And I think I tapped out. I was probably like 8 or 9, tapped out after the first 20 minutes. As a kid, I thought it was boring. Never saw it after that. Rediscovered it on the internet. But I made Gabe watch it. Gabe watched a couple hours of it. That's the rock concert, Gabe.
You watched the entire thing, Gabe?
I'm a sucker for punishment, man. I'm a sadomasochist, whatever.
Sadomasochist?
Yes.
Man. That is rough.
What did you think? What is
singing turtles excite me.
So I bought that that cassette, not the videotape. The cassette, because I was just like, I was a kid, I had turtle fever, I was like, I want to listen to these songs for some reason. And it's not good, but as a kid, I did love it. Especially they have a song called Pizza Power. That was like my favorite song when I was like 8, or 9, whatever, 10, whatever. Like I was like this is great, Pizza Power. Like it was fun, but then I heard there was a stage show, which is what you watched. It's like a rock concert and a stage show, right? Like
it
they
was a
fight
tour.
Shredder. It was a tour.
It's a
like
tour where
back-
they fight Shredder. Yes, they fight Shredder.
There's like behind the scenes clips and stuff. It's like this is Spinal Tap or something.
No, it's not even that. The one that I watched is like Shredder comes out and he sings, and the whole entire point of this whole show is that Shredder and one of the other bad guys are trying to steal the music of the world, and they're trying to undo music. Like no more music in the world, and the power of the turtles and song saves the day.
How many minutes of this did you watch?
How coked out were these people? Who decided this?
So it was about a 2-hour show that I found on YouTube. And I want to say I watched about an hour and like 30, maybe an hour and 40, maybe a little bit less than the entire thing. I just couldn't take it anymore after that. Mark.
Okay, so you watched that, and they had a bunch of things going on. And again, you guys are good sources because you're there during the height of the fever. And I showed this clip a couple weeks ago.
Hey, kids, what do you think? Do we need more lights? We need more lights! They're coming, they're coming! Hey, kids, how about helping me sing my favorite Christmas song? Take the whole with pepperoni, fa la 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 la.
All right, that's enough. I don't want to copyright strike. But I actually did watch the whole video. I think it's like 23 minutes. Gabe, you
23 minutes. I watched the whole thing. Minutes. I actually really enjoyed it, in like a very guilty pleasure type of way.
They look frightening in this.
They do. I was sending you screenshots. I was sending Tony screenshots as I'm watching this.
Yeah, it's nightmare fuel. It's
dude, there was a thing when they're in the sewer and it's dark and all you see are like the eyes and like the mouth of Michelangelo. I'm like, all right, that's nightmare fuel right there. Like I was like, I'm scared.
But it's crazy as a kid how you think everything is just like the coolest thing in the world. And because at Blockbuster, I remember that there being a specific section and had turtles everything. And I remember this was one of the tapes there that I thought looked insanely cool. I'm like, oh, Ninja Turtles Christmas special. Never saw it until like this morning. And that was like 20 something years ago.
Yeah, so I think back then, and I think they've done a better job of it now. I think back then they tried squeezing so much out of a certain fandom. And
Halloween?
What was that?
I said Halloween?
Yeah. And like they would just no kidding. But they would just squeeze everything they could. So like you said, yeah, I'm sure there were kids that were into it, but I feel like a lot of those kids got bamboozled because of their fandom love to go see, the live show and to see whatever else they were doing. Because kids like me, I was like, oh, that looks fucking weird. Like that looks too fucking weird to me to get into. And then all the other kids are kind of making fun of this, so I don't really want to be involved. And luckily by 1991, a man named Michael Jordan lured me away from watching most of that shit to start watching more sports and like cool stuff. So luckily I was saved by Michael Jordan himself in 1991. You know what I mean? But like that, but a lot of us started straying away from that stuff because it was lame. But I'm sure there were a lot of kids that like were like, yeah, this looks like fun. And they go to a rock concert and they have nightmares for the rest of their fucking lives of these fucking walking green abortions just fucking screaming at them.
Right. I mean, I'm sort of there with you in the sense where maybe mine was a little bit different, but my dad, being Mexican and all this other stuff, he allowed me to get to a certain point in my fandom, and then it was no more. Like, okay, we're gonna go watch the movies. You can watch the cartoon show. You could get the game, like the video game on the Nintendo, the side scroll, and that's about it. We ain't going to no rock concert. I ain't taking your, Mexican ass to no rock concert. We're not gonna do all this other stuff. And I just like, so that's like how, like, as far as like the height of my fandom reached when I was a kid. Now, obviously it grew as I'm older for some reason, but nostalgia again. But when I was a kid, it was just that, like, And then all of a sudden, it was like 91, 92. I think I got into the Power Rangers by that point, maybe. I don't know. Like you said, I got really into going outside and playing with my friends. Like you said, Michael Jordan. For me, it was Hakeem Olajuwon. You know,
The dream.
the dream. Hence why I'm a Chicago guy with a Houston Rockets
Dude,
shirt.
no, not to segue into anything, but I always like whenever people talk about like their top like fucking five, your top five against any top five ever, dude, Hakeem's always my center, dude. You know, Hakeem, I always say like what my five would be MJ, Pippen, give me a John Stockton point guard, you know. Maybe as power forward, maybe give me like a Karl Malone, maybe, you know, and then fucking my center, Hakeem Olajuwon. You can't beat those guys. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what anybody says. You can't beat those guys. You can't. They're too fucking good. The dream was too fucking good. He locked down Shaq. You know, get the fuck out of here. They fucking swept them.
I know.
All right.
We need more respect on Hakeem Olajuwon. These fucking kids don't know, man. Hakeem was the fucking dream. We can talk about this, right? We can little segue a little bit.
Yeah, we can talk about basketball. It's totally fine.
I fucking loved him, dude. I fucking loved him. That's the only other team I ever rooted for in the finals where I felt something was when the Rockets won those back to back.
Especially when they went up against the Knicks.
Dude,
when like
I fucking hated the Knicks. Yes.
I have nothing to add because I've only seen this stuff through YouTube.
Dude,
I wasn't there.
And then remember, MJ had come back and MJ played Orlando, and Orlando beat them in 7 games.
yeah.
And then Orlando went into the finals against Houston, and you're like, okay, well now I got to root for Houston because they just swept the MJ and the Bulls. Not swept them, but they beat them in 7 games.
Think about that. Think about this. The Rockets won 2 titles back to back, which is already hard to do. But Hakeem Olajuwon played against arguably two of the best centers ever and beat them in the NBA Finals. That's fucking dope, man. You know?
And
he beat teams in his own position.
And was it the second year they gave the MVP to David Robinson?
Yes.
On opening night, he was like, all right, he should have won the MVP that year. Hakeem should have, but they gave it to David Robinson. And that night, he put up like 40 points. It was like 40 points, 12 blocks, and like 16 rebounds on David Robinson. And he was like, "That's your MVP." And
I
like,
remember that.
Just left him,
dude. Those are the good times.
Yeah,
So
but then
what
you guys were getting stuff censored too. So fuck the 90s. We got good players. We got a.
Oh, you guys live in the shadow of the fucking 90s, man. That's one thing that NBA fans can't even like. They won't admit to it. They all live in the shadow of the fucking 90s.
I think it's true. I think everybody's gonna always compare that. I think now I feel bad for kids that are getting into basketball now though, because I don't know who you like look up to. I mean, I guess there's a few players, but I think
Curry, LeBron.
Steph Curry, LeBron. I think of the 2010s era, I guess, but I mean now, who's it gonna be? I mean, Steph Curry's definitely on. there.
John Morant.
I love John Morant.
He's amazing, dude.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
But even think the 2000s, you had Iverson, you had Kobe, all these guys.
Tracy McGrady, Vince Carter.
Tracy McGrady. I mean, I really liked even Andre Iguodala at one point. Was putting up triple doubles a game before he was coming off the bench for superstar teams like the Golden State Warriors.
And don't forget about your love of the Claw, freaking what's his face from the Clippers.
Oh, I love Kawhi. He spends too much time in strip clubs, but that I think
he spends too much time not playing.
He's in strip clubs.
he plays like 2 games a month because he's resting for the playoffs, and then the Clippers don't even make the playoffs. So it's like, okay, what's your rest for?
I will say something that not a lot of people will agree with, and I think right now the NBA is as the closest to the 90s that you can get, because you have at least 10 teams that are contenders to win the championship every year at this point. And we haven't seen that since the 90s. We didn't really get that. In the 2000s was a Lakers show, and then like the Spurs kind of moved in, and then whatever team LeBron was in was a winner. But like now there's so many good teams. Like anybody could win. The Timberwolves can win it next year, and no one would be surprised. You know?
No, Anthony Edwards is incredible. He's an
Yeah.
incredible star. I mean, any of those guys would be up for it. All right, let's move on
Sorry,
to
sorry.
TMNT 3. I mean, it's
All right,
probably
hold
the
on.
worst-
Before you move on to TMNT, could I just say how annoying that pizza delivery guy was in like the second movie? I forget his name. Freaking little
Kino.
Tito.
And
Tino.
he does the.
What was his
He's
name?
in the. I forget his name, but he's in the suit for the
Yeah.
turtles, and
Yeah, he is.
He was in what?
He was
Bruce Leroy.
He was Filipino. He was a Filipino kid, I think.
Okay, but
He's in The Last Dragon, isn't he? He plays
Yes.
the little kid.
He's the little kid in The Last Dragon. He's also in a movie called Surf Ninjas.
Yes, he is in Surf.
not to be confused with Three Ninjas.
Dude, that's the thing. The Ninja Turtles inspired all of that shit. Surf Ninjas, Three Ninjas, Battletoads, fucking Biker Mice from Mars, Street Sharks, the Kangaroo Guy movie, like Warriors of Virtue.
The Killer Tomatoes.
SWAT Cats too was another thing.
They,
Yeah.
they did all that shit, man.
No, but I thought the live action Tino, whatever his name was, I thought he was a little annoying the entire
Kino,
movie.
yeah.
Kino, yeah, Kino.
Yeah.
Kino,
I keep on calling him Tino.
Like,
it was definitely. I think
he says like one of the douchiest lines in the movie when this girl's like, he's like, any of you girls want to ride on my fucking motorbike? And they're like, in your dreams, loser. And he's like, in my dreams, you're a little thinner. Like, fuck you, dude. That's why nobody's playing with your dick, because you're an asshole. You know?
he is. I think that was their replacement because they couldn't use Casey, who was, I think, at some point written into the film. It was very early on into the writing process that they told him, you have to take all the violent stuff out. We're going to make this toned down. So I think he's definitely that replacement for it. It's a downgrade. Go from Elias Codes to this guy. They probably figured we have him in the suit already. Might as well just let him go ahead and act. So why not?
Yeah. But Turtles 3 was a weird movie because I know they wanted it. I think they already did another small budget for that one, didn't they?
I think it was even less than the second
even
one.
Less. Yeah. And I know they couldn't, like, they didn't really want to bring in any more mutants because of licensing issues.
And they didn't want to bring in Shredder because they felt like the entire Shredder storyline was complete. Which we didn't even talk about Super Shredder and the, like, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched the second one, it's on you because it's been like fucking 30 years. But like the way that they killed off Shredder in the second one, I thought was like the lamest thing. It's like just the deck falls on him.
Yeah, the doctor fell on him.
And he's like Super Shredder, right? Like he takes the mutant in, he takes the ooze, he's Super Shredder, and the deck falls on him and he's dead. Like that was like the lamest way to kill him.
Like he's wearing armor as well.
Right. Yeah. Lamest way to kill off Shredder.
Yeah.
It's crazy because they had the epic battle of the first one too, so it's like the worst way to go out.
I'd like to think that he took such a concentrated amount of the mutagen that it accelerated his heart rate, and when all that fell on him, he got surprised and he stroked out. Like that's at least how I would like to think that's how he died. You know, that makes sense to me. Or maybe just like cancer worked like that, and he just like fucking just made an exit.
Right.
But in the third one, like they fought against like a Japanese warlord, but even he's not the bad guy because he's being bamboozled by like some colonizer.
The Englishman.
Yeah.
Which I just read an article. They named him like the worst villain in like the TMT universe was just the colonizer.
Yeah, Walker. His name was
Walker.
And Elias Codes is in that movie. And the dual role is Casey Jones and his longtime descendant. I forgot what his name was. Bill or something. Pip.
Yeah.
It's the worst English accent ever. He was not trying. Elias Codes was there for a paycheck, and I don't blame him.
I think at that point, that character, I think it's so weird if you read the production on this. They wanted to please fans of that first movie, but then they also did a bunch of other things that were just like really ill-advised and terribly wrong. Even in the comic books, the Turtles do go to Japan. There's the iconic panels of them. There's I forget the character's name, who's from Japan, the rabbit character.
Usagi Yojimbo.
Yes,
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
And they could have done something with that too. But
he was never created. He wasn't created by Eastman and Laird. He was created by Stan Sakai.
it came later, right?
But I think he was before the Turtles. I believe he created,
wow.
and then through a partnership with Mirage Studios, they were able to bring Usagi Yojimbo into the series. But Usagi Yojimbo has his own series, I believe, independently in the U.S. and in Japan. He's big in Japan. Yeah.
There you go. That's something that they could have gone with. So they brought back Casey. They tried to bring back Judith Hogue as April O'Neil. So what they did was they contacted her and said, "Do you want to do the movie?" She's like, "Yeah, I want to do the movie." And they're like, "Yeah, never mind. We don't want you to do it because it'll confuse children while you're back in the movie."
Right.
It's written and directed by the same person. It's a new director, but he shares both his writing credit and directing credit. No Jim Henson Creature Shop, so they look like this. Just fucking strange. Just really strange.
They got like age spots.
Yes.
The spots always bothered me. I don't get it. I mean, they could have just used the same. I don't know. I mean, try to recreate what the Henson Company did. And another thing is, I noticed at this time, because I haven't seen this movie in a very long time, so I was able to watch it, and Splinter never moves throughout the movie.
He doesn't.
In the first and second movie, they do a great job of seeing him walk in the limited amount of time you see him walk around and stuff. And he's perfectly crafted in the first one. In this one, he's standing by a windowsill the entire time. The entire movie.
I doubt they finished the second half, bottom half of him.
They probably didn't.
I doubt it. Yeah.
What do you think, Gabe?
The only highlight from that movie that I can think of, is maybe when Casey Jones is with the 5 Japanese guys in a fucking bar.
That's what I wrote. The Tarzan voice scene's the funniest, actually the most genuinely funny moment in that movie. And he only shows them how to do things in like modern America for 2 scenes.
Right. Yeah.
A total of like a minute and a half out of the entire runtime is Casey Jones and these guys. He's showing them hockey, and then he takes them to the bar, and they refuse to go back. They love modern New York so much.
Yeah.
And that's about it. Those are the genuine laughs in this. This movie, it was rough. Gabe, I know you said you had a rough time watching it, so I'm interested. What did you think?
Yeah.
Stuff that we guys already mentioned, just the way that they look, the storyline itself, I was just like, even as a child, I thought it was weird. Like, a scepter makes you go back in time to feudal Japan. I don't understand. Also, you're ninjas, but you're dressing up as samurais, which, if you know your history, ninjas and samurais don't get along. So, like, okay, what's going on with that? I will say this. One of the things that I did like about it, I mean, I got to give it a like for something, right, was Michelangelo sort of, how we talked about how he was like this guy that doesn't care about anything. In this one, he cared about the kid and the girl. He sort of like sees a little, I guess, character growth in like 3 movies. Finally, in the third one.
You're right. You're right. I think this one, Michelangelo actually did, kind of come out of his shell. Like we see growth in him, even in Raphael, which I think Raphael's growth is kind of cartoony because he's like, "Hey, I like it out here. Nobody's bothering me, and people like me, and I'm gonna meditate." Like, I thought that was kind of cheesy, but you're right. Those 2 characters kind of went against their own grain, and where Leonardo and Donatello are just like they're non-existent in this movie.
Right. They're
there to say some one-liners. That's about it.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's about the only positive I could probably take away from that movie. That and the ancient Japanese guys loving hockey, and then they go back and like fight in the hockey style.
Yeah. This movie is very confusing because it was made for less money, but they go with the most outlandish, over-the-top idea they can think of. Like, well, let's put them in feudal Japan. It's one of those things where the second movie they were told to tone down the violence, and this movie, for what it is, has some pretty not violent scene, but there's action set pieces. I'm like, all right, you could have taken the money you put into this, and just kept them in New York City, because in this movie, everybody involved has made the Turtles, which for the first time, I think watching 3 of these, where I'm just like fucking annoyed by them. Watching it this morning, I was just like, man, like 88 minutes felt like the longest time ever. It was just like it was honestly boring watching them. And there's just there's a couple of moments where the ADR is so bad, where the turtles will say something, but their mouth isn't even moving. There's one where Raph quotes Schwarzenegger, and like his mouth is he didn't open his mouth. He's saying I'll be back. It's when they go down the sewage line with April, and when they save April. But there's like a bunch of things in this movie. Just overall, they just look so creepy. They look like you could like tell like it wasn't Jim Henson, but they just look strange. I know there's that famous image. You guys have probably seen it online. It's nightmare inducing, where somebody has kept the head mold of Michelangelo from this movie.
Yeah,
and it's like deteriorated. The mouth is fully exposed. It's creepy. It's strange. But this movie is it's a weird movie.
one part that always stands out for me. Sorry, one part that always stands out for me is this part where it's right at the end where Leonardo's like challenging the guy to shoot him instead.
Right.
And his mouth is moving. It's like his teeth are like in the way, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening here, man? Like what? Who fucked up?
Everybody fucked up in that one.
I guess.
But the movie still made money. It made over $50 million on a $20 million budget. So it wasn't like a huge success, but they were able to recoup their profits. It didn't do as good as part 2, but it did decently for for what they put out there. But this is kind of the decline of the hype around the Turtles, right? Like the video games are still happening. It's 1993, so I'm guessing the sequels to the game are still going pretty strong.
Turtles in Time was like one of my most favorite video games, man. I love Turtles in Time.
And so we have the game still going, the toys are still strong, but I feel like by the time this movie happens, then we have a sort of slow period. I know the show was struggling because the show kept switching creators and animators, and at that point they didn't know what they wanted to do with it. Even though it goes on to, I believe, 1997. The show goes until 97, and that's where we get this. And this is one that I actually have memories of. I caught it. It would come on in the mornings on TV.
No.
Gabe, have you seen the show?
No. After a certain point, I want to say maybe 93, 94. It's when I got big into like Power Rangers, and I sort of left the Turtles behind at that point. So what it would have been like around part 3, at the end of part 3, I left behind the Turtles, and I never got back into the Turtles. Like I would check in here and there, like the new Turtle stuff, right? When they would announce it like on Nickelodeon or Nick Jr. or whatever. But I never got back into like the actual swing of things with turtle-mania because of they looked like real little kids, and I didn't like the animation that Nickelodeon had, and it seemed like it was geared towards more kid stuff, especially like the early 2000s. So I never got right back into it until like 2007. They released an animated movie, and I thought that was I thought that was tits. Like I saw it, and I'm like, all right, and I fell like back in love with the Turtles. And then they came back out with another like Nickelodeon Kids, Nick Jr. stuff Turtle, and I was like, all right, whatever. And then I got back into it when Michael Bay did his first the 2 movies. I know they're Michael Bay movies, but I absolutely love them. Like
he barely had anything to do with them. I know people give or take praise him or blame him for whatever he's involved in.
Well, no, I know.
He's got a very specific style. But with that movie, I know you brought it up, so I guess we got to talk about the Bay. I mean, everybody calls them the Bay Turtles anyway, so I guess we could call them that. I remember when that came out, and there was like this giant uproar. The internet, that was probably one of the first times I saw toxic fandom on the internet go buck wild because they heard the Turtles were going to be aliens.
Which they've always been aliens.
The mutagen is, but they were going to be straight up aliens in this movie. The script, I don't know if you guys remember this, it leaked online, and they came from a race of aliens, and they were sent here. It was like a bizarre script. And I know the movie was shot with those intentions, and as soon as the backlash happened, they quickly went back. They did a bunch of reshoots. Shredder was a white guy named
Fincher.
Eric Sacker. Eric Sachs, right? because that translates to a Rokusaki.
Yeah.
But then in the movie, they did the reshoots, and it turns out he's just the talking piece for the real Shredder. What do you guys think of these movies? Gabe, you brought them up. I'll let you go first. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, but since you brought it up anyway.
No, like I said, to me, it just hit the right notes for me. What I was looking for, I wanted a little bit more adult turtles, but with the same sense of humor from like the cartoon show from the first movie, and I feel like it hit those. And Megan Fox's April was just amazing to look at. I'm just saying, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just like both of them. Now, Out of the Shadows, the second one, I liked it, but again, that turtle movie hit more kids. Like for some reason, Out of the Shadows had less violence, and it felt more targeted towards kids again. So it's sort of like again, we go back to like the 90s. Like the first one, they gave you like adult turtles. They gave you like, they looked fierce. They looked like they were swole. They looked mean as hell, at least in my opinion. And the storyline was a little bit more adult, a little obviously a lot of fictiony to it. But then the second one, Out of the Shadows, went back to like the kids. They toned down their look. They looked more, kid friendly. They looked like teenagers, I guess. And it was more comedy. They tried to add more comedy to it. And as much as I liked the first one, the second one I thought was fine. I mean, I like it. I just thought it was like a fine type of situation with it. But overall, the two of those, I own both of those movies. So, I got to like them.
Leo, I don't think I've ever asked you what you thought of these movies.
I think 10 years ago, I would have given you a different answer, right? Because maybe even 5 years ago, who knows? I would have given you a different answer. Have been like, they're fucking dumb. I probably would have thought about that then. But now, I think I can sit back and be like, just these new ones aren't for me, right? They're not meant for me. I think, but also, so I saw the first one and I was like, okay, it's just not for me. And the second one, I was excited only because Bebop and Rocksteady were in it. And for me, as a big fan of those two characters, I was like, this is pretty cool. And then Baxter Stockman's in it. And I was like, it's pretty cool. They're not good movies, but I think that there's a whole generation of kids that know these as their Turtles movies. And I think that's good. That's what they like. I'm not going to shit on what they would like or what they would find nostalgic from them. I think the turtle designs are really bad. But again, it's like, dude, I don't know. The older I get, I'm just like, these are just all fucking movies of like these turtles that like fucking get radioactive and like learn kung fu or whatever. Like, it's not that fucking big of a deal. We shouldn't have that many of like horrible fucking takes on this shit, right? Like, we should have no serious takes on any of this. Even when Eastman and Laird made the Turtles, they were all based off of X-Men, the Hand from Daredevil, and they started the whole thing as a joke. They did. They started the comic as a joke.
It was just a joke.
They stole a lot of Daredevil stuff.
Yeah, it was just meant to be satire on current comics, and they struck a gold mine with it. And it's just like, I don't think like I would have that. People are like, I know people that get mad that the two newest Turtle movies exist, right? I mean, I remember the whole Alien thing, the script and the script and all that.
Right.
I remember people being like so mad, and I'm just like, why are we angry at something that's so silly? Like, who cares where the turtles are coming from? Who cares? I would rather see an original take on something that is already known than for something to just be remade shot for shot, word for word out of the original content, right? Like, whatever, just give us something different, And I think when you get Michael Bay, you're going to get fun visuals, and I'll say that Technodrome part in part 2, that was fucking cool, man. Like, that was all cool. The Krang, all that shit.
Right. So I'm with you, and I've always been on that train of thought where it's some of these movies that they get rebooted, that gets like the prequel, the sequels, whatever the case may have you. They're made for a new generation of kids or young adults, just like we were, in the early 90s, mid 90s, right? So I don't hate on them. I enjoy them for a little bit of nostalgia pieces that they give me or what have you. The one that I know that was just as toxic as the turtle one was the new Power Ranger movie. The one that came out in like
Sure.
2018. All the
Right.
amount of toxicity that came out from the Power Ranger fans for that movie and how much they shitted on the entire thing um, was just obscene. Like I was like, I'm the part. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I watched that movie. I told Tony I wanted a sequel. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it, and but like I said, like you said, it wasn't made for me. It was made for a younger generation of Power Ranger fans. So, but the same thing with the Turtles. But I enjoy a lot of these sequels and remakes.
As me not even being a Power Rangers fan, I didn't. The whole Power Rangers craze skipped me. I saw the new one, and I was like, oh, I'm like, that's an interesting, like, I guess update, right? Because like the effects were cool. I don't ever remember Power Rangers having that much of an intriguing storyline anyway, right? Like it was all a bunch of teenagers and they would hang out after school and like they had like a couple of bully guys that were just like being dumb,
Right.
and there was always like a danger and then the other shots were rehashed from other episodes of the Japanese version
Oh, the
of the show.
Right.
Japanese version of the
So
show.
like
Yes.
I don't understand why people got so angry about a movie based on a show that was chopped up of different parts of other shit. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Right. Like they hated like the way that the Power Rangers origin story was in this new one, and they hated that the Black Ranger wasn't black, that the black kid got like the Blue Ranger suit. I'm like, really?
You know,
Like,
there's one thing I did enjoy about this, and when it came to Power Rangers, Gabe, I was with you as a kid. Like I went through my Turtles phase, the Batman phase never left. I had Spider-Man parties, like those were characters that stayed.
we know
But
about your Batman craze. Yeah.
I'm still in
Yeah.
it. But Turtles I went through, and I had the 2003 show, and then the movies and stuff. But Power Rangers was something where I thought it was the coolest thing. They looked cool because it was the 90s, and I saw the reruns of Mighty Morphin, and like it just felt cool. Like it felt like a cool show. Watching it later on, I'm like, oh no, this is pretty bad. It's bad. It's like it's bootleg Saved by the Bell with a bunch of Japanese cutscenes cut into it.
It's a really good description of Power Rangers, actually.
It is, but there's people that take it so seriously, and I don't want to like shit on what people love. If you love it and you take it seriously, do that. But the one thing I will say about that new movie is like that's probably the best they could have made a Power Rangers movie. They did the best they could. It's Breakfast Club, but hey, what if the kids got superpowers?
You know, I and this is an outsider talking, but I thought the idea of Rita Repulsa being the Green Ranger that was like scorned,
Right.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Right.
To me, that made a lot of sense. Like that ties things together for me.
Right.
It ties things together. Bryan Cranston. I mean, a lot of this stuff work. Like from somebody who again doesn't obsess. I see people at these conventions. I'm sure you guys do too, Leo, especially. That go from table to table and just like have these guys. Tommy, what's his name? The actor that plays Tommy.
Jason David Frank.
Just make him sign everything and anything, and just like they're obsessed.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I thought the new one, like it's crazy because there's a good comparison to be made between Turtles and Power Rangers. They both had that same sort of cultural mania at the same time.
They do. And I saw the original Power Ranger movies. They had two. I mean, the two that I saw.
I've seen.
They were bad. Like they were bad.
Bad.
Like the updated one is so much better than the first two Power Ranger movies put together. They were just that bad.
I remember, which one was the one with the purple guy? Ooze.
That's the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie with Ivan Ooze.
Ivan
seeing that
Ooze.
at the theater. When did that come out?
96, 95, around there.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't see it with you. I know I saw it in the theater with younger cousins, and I'm just like, what is this shit? But I remember seeing it in the theater.
I saw it at Ford City.
Ford City, yep.
You saw it.
What didn't I watch at Ford City? Anything between like the 90s to like 2003, I saw at Ford City Mall.
I can't imagine anybody during that time, if you live in the Chicagoland area, you had to go see a movie either at Ford City Mall, North Riverside,
North Riverside.
Cinemark in Melrose Park or Chicago Ridge.
Ours was Fort City all the way because it was Fort City 14. It was the biggest one.
Yep,
It was
General
14,
Cinema.
General Cinema 14. So I saw The Matrix there after high school. I saw The Cable Guy. My parents dropped me and my cousins off at the Cable Guy. Like, here, go watch The Cable Guy. It has Jim Carrey. He's from The Mask.
Yeah. I the last movie I saw there was the Ben Affleck Daredevil. It's the very last movie I saw there.
Maybe we'll cover that on the show sometime.
Maybe.
An all Ben Affleck show. I'm in.
We could do
You're the Bomb and Phantoms, yo.
We'll do the fucking what's the Jennifer Lopez one? The mob one.
Jiggly?
Jiggly. Yeah.
Don't forget there was also Jersey Girl too. She had a cameo with him too in Jersey Girl.
Hey, you know what? Jersey Girl's the one that I think people rip on Kevin for. I've seen it recently. I don't mind that movie. It's fine. Like,
I've never seen that.
I think it's genuinely charming. George
It is
Carlin
charming.
is great as the father in that movie.
Liv Tyler's also now, she's easy to look. She's easy to look at too in that.
But all right, so turtle-mania. We talked about the Bay movies. I don't think I gave my thoughts on them. I just didn't really have.
They're coming up with a new one. They're rebooting the whole thing.
Yeah, they're rebooting
the
whole
are?
thing. And,
Seth Rogen is producing it.
Oh yes, I saw that. Yes,
the guy that one of the main writers from Gravity Falls, and he did a movie called Mitchell's versus the Machines.
Yep.
Which I hear is very good. I've not seen it yet.
It's really good.
It's really good.
But if you've seen Gravity Falls, which I recommend, it's one of the best Disney shows, like original shows. If he's involved and he's directing, I'm really excited for it because Gravity Falls is an amazing show. I heard Mitchell vs. Machines is really good. So
and a lot of those guys, they worked on Spider-Verse too. A lot of those guys all worked on Spider-Verse.
And Seth Rogen at this point, I think for a lot of fans has basically carte blanche because he's done such a great job in all the like Priest and all these other comic book shows that he's adapted. He's done such a great job. The Boys to its original source. He's a nerd.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like when I announced it, one of my buddies was like, "Oh, he's like, I don't know, it's Seth Rogen. He sucks." I'm like, I think we're confusing Seth Rogen, the actor, which can be annoying to some people, with Seth Rogen, the producer, who he's a smart guy, and like you said, he gives people what they want. Because Preacher was really good, and like you said, The Boys, and what else has he produced?
Invincible, which is a big hit.
Invincible,
right now. Like everybody loves that show.
Yeah, and I think the dude knows what he's doing. Producing.
And this is a passion project for him because I know for a while he's talked about like he would love to tap that. He said I've seen so many interviews in the past, at least 10 years, where he's talked about Ninja Turtles and he wanted to do the movie. And the fact that he's a really good producer. The Boys, he handpicked a lot of those directors that come on board. The guy that just did Prey, the new Predator movie.
Yeah, I loved that. That was so good.
It was so good. And he directed a handful of The Boys episodes. And just the fact that all the creators involved in this is the first time I've seen like genuine talent behind the scenes on a Turtles property. That's exciting. That's really exciting.
Seth Rogen's probably like mine and Leo's age where it just hits everything nostalgic for him as one. He wants to see it done right and properly. Like I've said, I'm tired of seeing kids' turtles. Like I get it. You have to sell your toys, but can't you separate them? Like
you want to see smart animated films that are for kids, but also
right.
I mean, Spider-Verse is a great example of that. Where kids love it, and then if you're a huge Spider-Man fan, you're going to notice things that you love too as an adult. And
a lot of people love it. And
there's a smart way to do it where it's still kid friendly in a sense, but still dark enough for adults to enjoy it. And I think that's what the Turtles need to do is they need to hit that sweet spot where it's like a heavy-handed PG-13 in a sense. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. Oh, yeah.
All right.
So Tony, before we I don't know if we're wrapping up, but before we do, I need to ask you something. How did you feel about my my Predator Police Academy?
I don't think I saw this.
Did you not see this?
No, the Predator and Police Academy.
No, because like I was talking to our buddy Juan about Prey being so good, and I was like, well, what if there was a Police Academy Predator mashup? And I just said it to get Juan angry, but he was into it. And
I guess you could do anything with the character at this point.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you can just put Predator in any situation, it makes it better, you know?
You could have like the Predator in his own planet, and they have like a whole like little Predator training school, and then you have that one Predator that's like a Michelangelo type who's like a little bit goofy and doesn't take everything seriously.
Shit. No, that's a whole different movie. Yeah, you're right. It's a Predator training school. And it's
right.
It's
like
really
Police Academy.
It's got really shitty early 2000s like punk, like, you know.
And then you get like the Predator and could like try to do different sounds. It's like trilling and like different like languages and whatever.
No, well, my idea was that the Predator would be here to take on like the Yakuza or something in New York, and like the Police Academy guys are finding like all like the dead bodies, and like they're like, what do we do? And they're like, so like hijinks ensue, and like they trick the Predator into going to that one gay bar, you know, and dancing with gay dudes, and like Hightower gets into a fist fight with the Predator, and Tackleberry and the Predator become friends because they're like, hey, we both like crazy guns, and they start shooting. And then in the end, the Predator becomes an official part of the Police Academy because they catch the Yakuza. Well, he murders all of them.
Somebody just has to do a fan film, a fake trailer, for you just to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. I guess you could do Requiem for a Dream meets the Predator, and then Gabe can, you know, you love Jared Leto. There you go.
I love Jared Leto.
Like the Predator's just in bed, like shooting up.
They're just taking on a bunch of junkies going ass to ass.
Yeah.
All right. So that was Turtles. We talked about everything from the shows to the toys, the video games, the porn, which, guys, check it out.
April O'Neil.
April O'Neil, starring as April O'Neil.
That yellow jacket and the white belt.
Yeah, you guys can figure out the secret.
Was it always raining in New York though, since she's always wearing that the yellow raincoat?
I mean, you know, that was supposed to be in the movie. It was in the promotional material. I guess she felt she looked ridiculous, Judith Hoag, so they didn't let her wear it in the film. She, that was the one thing she protested against.
She wore it in the beginning of the movie though, the yellow raincoat.
It was just a jacket.
Yellow
jacket. It was like a yellow jacket. That was the callback, but she had the jumpsuit too.
Yeah. What was your guys' favorite villain? And I know you're trying to wrap things up, Tony, but I just want to know what your guys' favorite turtle villain is.
My favorite turtle villain was Slash. The evil turtle from Dimension X.
Yep.
Oh.
Who has like, for some reason, like 6 different origin stories. Like he's been he was Raphael's pet for a while. He's from another planet. He was created in a lab. He has like 6 different origin stories, depending on which storyline you go with.
Yep.
I would go with Shredder, but I think there's not much you can go with that character. And I think that's where they run into a corner within the comics and the shows and stuff. There's not much you can do with him. He's very one note. But Baxter, I think that's a very cool character. And then if the modern run, the most recent IDW run, they wrote him really, really well. And it was a really cool run they did. It's like 2012, 2013. If they could do it like that, I would say that would be sick, because that right there, I would say that's probably the best written TMNT villain for sure.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Krang. I always liked him. I always liked the alien head in the robot body. You know, and again, it goes back to like the Turtles and the Ooze was all aliens.
Yeah.
You know, it's just Krang being like super smart and trying to get in with the Shredder and all this other stuff. I mean, you could always do different things with him and make him even smarter than what he already is.
Right.
And that's the thing that, like, I think in the original books, it wasn't just Krang. That was the name of the alien race.
Yeah, it was the name of the alien race.
Yeah, they were all,
and that's where I thought they were headed when Michael Bay, when that leak happened, where they're like, oh, they're gonna be alien based. My brain instantly went to, oh, then that means the Krang are gonna be involved. That makes all the sense. They're gonna fight just an army of these like fucking brain things and like robots. That's fucking cool. because like in some of the first covers, remember that cover for the original Nintendo Turtles game where they're all wearing the red masks?
I've seen a
very
poster of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very
It's like
iconic.
a comic books and stuff. Yeah.
That's from a promotional poster for the TMNT comic books, and in that they're fighting all the Krang. They're fighting the Krang, and that was drawn by this dude named Mike Gold, who's one of the original part of the Mirage team. And funny story, at Baltimore Comic-Con, I was sitting next to him, and I didn't realize who he was because who would have known who he was, right? We wouldn't have known. And all of a sudden, all these dudes like running up to him, and they've got all this turtle stuff. And then I was sitting next to him, like, Mike, who the fuck are you? And he's like, I'm nobody. And I'm like, no, like all these guys are giving you shit. You just signed like 10 copies of a Nintendo game. And he's like, I was one of the first cover artists for. And I'm like, wait, did you fucking draw the cover for the Nintendo game? He's like, yeah. I'm like, and I'm in my head, I'm like, he must have made so much money. And he's like, they used that without even asking him. That was all owned by Mirage. So Kevin
I'm not surprised.
Kevin Eastman was fucking pocketing all that money. But he was like the coolest dude. And he gave that print behind me, I don't know if you see it, that's signed by him. And he gave it to me because I was a good table mate for him because I was helping him out. Well, dude, he had a huge line. And he was just the nicest dude. But yeah, nice shout out to Mike Gold. He's a good dude.
Well, the Turtles themselves didn't get their colored mask or any of their personalities until the cartoon show in '88.
Yeah.
It was all black and white. There was no colors. There was nothing. Their personalities, it was all until the cartoon show came out, and that's when Reagan decided that, you know, fuck regulations on kids' TV shows. You could do whatever the hell you want. That's when, like, Mattel and, you know, whatever, they all started doing toys and then TV shows for toys, like basically 30-minute commercials for toys.
Yeah, he's like, whatever distracts from the crack epidemic that I'm introducing into your neighborhoods, do it.
Right. We're gonna get you Masters of the Universe. Here's these Thundercats, Transformers, Turtles, like all that stuff from the '80s, even the Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
I wonder what he thinks of his wife being dubbed the throat goat.
The throat goat? I mean, when you're like,
he must have known.
You know, I mean, when you're elbow deep in banging children, like he probably was, like he probably didn't. It didn't matter that your wife was sucking everybody's dick for fun.
Wait, hold on. I never heard this. Nancy Reagan?
Around the studio lots of 40s and 50s Hollywood, she was known as the throat goat. He was like going up to Cary Grant. So that Nancy here, she's got quite a mouth on her. That's probably how it happened. How they got together.
I'm not gonna knock her hustle, man. She sucked her way off all the way to be the first lady of the United States, man. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
You know?
We're going to strange places. We can't talk about Nancy Reagan like that. So I'm going to go ahead and play another clip to close off the show.
Now, taste our turtle wax.
All right, that's it.
Wait, what?
Oh,
man.
Taste our turtle wax. All right, Leo, thank you for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Plug away Broken Reality as we close up here.
Yeah, we're getting ready to do our next season of Broken Reality. That's coming soon. I don't have a timeline yet, but I'm sure everybody will find out within the next month or so. But we're going to be going pretty hard with some scary stories and stuff like that for Halloween season. So if you guys have anything you guys want to be on, let me know. If you guys want to talk about any spooky shit, we definitely love to have you guys on here.
I love talking about spooky shit.
Oh, dude, that's our jam. So yeah, you can always check us out on iTunes, Spotify, all that stuff. We're all over the place. You can follow me on Twitter as Real Leo Perez, and I'm on Instagram, but mostly on Twitter, Real Leo Perez. Hit me up on there.
Cool. Gabe, anything else before we wrap up?
No, I'm good.
I want to pick up one more thing. If you guys haven't done this, check out The Last Ronin. It's like the last Ninja Turtle story, written by Eastman and Laird. They all had a hand in it. It's fucking amazing. It follows the last Ninja Turtle who's kind of out there to avenge the death of his entire family. It's really fucking cool. And when you find out who the last Ninja Turtle is, you're like, holy shit.
I think I already know it. Somebody spoiled it for me, who the last Ninja Turtle is.
Yeah, I think somebody spoiled it for me as well. I've not read that storyline yet, but I've heard nothing but praise around it from many different people.
You should check it out. It's very, very good.
Do you guys know real quick that Funko Pop did a collaboration between Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles? So you could get like a green Power Ranger Leonardo, like a Leonardo in a green Power Ranger suit.
That's awesome.
Type deal.
They're pimping out TMNT in all kinds of ways. You go to Target, you could get a TMNT Stranger Things collaboration. There's like action figure packs of Daniel from the Karate Kid with Leo from TMNT.
Really? That's
I don't know why. It's there.
Do you guys still have any of the toys or no?
I don't have. I had the whole 2003 line. It's gone. My parents lost everything in storage. So, like, I think this was like 15 years back. I had the whole 2003 line, but I don't have it anymore. And plus, the toys are so expensive now, and I've tried to rebuy some of those, and like, it's not even just the 80s show. Anything TMNT is ridiculous in its price. Even the 2012 CGI Nickelodeon show, all those toys are insanely priced. I think all I have the movie pop figures that they released a while back.
So my mom threw out all my 1990s TMT toys way back when. And I do own quarter scales of the 20, like the Michael Bay turtles. So they're like, quarter scale turtles. I have 2 of those from the original, and then I got the last 2 of the sequel, and then I have quarter scale Bebop and Rocksteady. Yeah. It's still in its box. I'll show you guys pictures. And I have like a little small crane, like a regular size crane.
In 2004, they re-released all the Playmates figures.
Right. And
I was able to buy this guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the one I had. Yeah, like all those.
Yeah, it came with like the shitty like fucking swords and all that. That's the best I could do. I had all the other shit, and I just like, you grow up over the years, it gets sold in garage sales and shit like that.
Right.
We're sending a bunch to Mexico, So
to this day, I still remember a Michelangelo turtle that I had. It was like Surfer Michelangelo. It had like seaweed and a starfish on him. And it came on a surfboard. Yeah. Like I still look him up, like see the value of him. And it wasn't like a big hit, so it's still like $10. I mean, I could buy him if I wanted to, but that's like one of the Michelangelos that I had that I still fondly remember.
Yeah, I used to make mine have sex a lot when I got older. They used to just bang each other silly. Yep.
Why not?
You're like, you want to see my turtle head now?
Oh, no.
Here comes the secret of the ooze. Okay.
It's coming out of its shell.
Oh no. All right, guys. I thank you all for tuning in, or those that catch up on the episode.
Thank you.
And catching up on us. Seen a few people in the chat, from Cody to Zach.
Do we have any good comments?
The porn bots are here. They're always here. The porn bots are always coming in. Yeah, I love them. Adrian wants us to leave him a little bit of a birthday shout out. So happy birthday, Sky Selenite. I can't believe you survived another year. But I mean,
oh, congratulations! Hey, congratulations! He's having a baby.
Oh yeah. He's having a baby.
May your firstborn child be a masculine one.
I don't know. It's my cousin. I don't know if it's going to be masculine.
Well, we'll see. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, make sure you hit that like button, comment. Let us know what you think your favorite turtle movies are from the TV shows, any of it. Let us know your favorite memories. And we'll see you on the Thursday show, as well as having a couple of reviews up throughout the week as well. So, Tony, Gabe, Leo, signing off. And I'm going to try to play this outro video.